Welcome to Leaders Gotta Lead. Join our leaders and hosts, Dan Gomer and Scott Harshman, as they bring you powerful strategies and insights to help you lead with purpose, impact, and unstoppable success.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Leaders Gotta Lead, the podcast where we talk all things leadership. We were just talking before we got on here about, the idea that there is no right way to lead. There is a way, and it's going to be different for every single person. And so on this show, what we do is we bring in people like Doug, who we have here today, who are exceptional leaders who do things in their own way, and we just share ideas on what it means to be a good leader. So if you're watching this, our hope is that you pick up some tools and tricks and thoughts and ideas on how you can be the best leader in your own life, even if it's just leading yourself. So welcome to the show, Doug. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm really excited to have you on. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and let's just go riff and see what comes out of what is it? You gotta be a leader?
Leaders gotta lead.
Leaders gotta lead. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Let's see what comes out of leaders gotta lead.
So, Doug, just to give a little bit of an intro of who you are, a very quick intro. So Doug was in the lending world for 20 plus years in lots of different facets, running teams, running his own brokerage, just doing production, and eventually got to a point where he wanted to help other people be the best version of themselves. And so he's gone into specializes in conscious leadership. He's been born and raised here in Colorado his whole life. I met Doug through a friend who, I was kind of expressing some of my problems in my business, and he was like, "You got to meet this guy, Doug," and he introduced me to you. And man, you just dropped some, I call them truth bombs. At a very timely point in my life that really impacted my business, impacted my ability to be a leader, and I would say more so even like a leader for myself. And now Doug and I are working together in a small group setting where we've got some high level leaders coming together and just helping make each other better. And so I share all of that because, Doug, I'm very grateful for everything that you've done in my life and all the influence and impact that you've had in my life. And so very excited to have you on the show and to be able to pick your brain and get some of your ideas out into the world about what it means to be a great leader. And so with that, let's jump right in and ask the big question. What does it mean to be a great leader to you, Doug?
Well, there's so many answers. And before I go into that, just acknowledging you and Scott for your courage to hold space for this and to put yourselves out there in a way that's serving others. It's important, I think, for all of us to get different perspectives. And so this, whatever comes out of this is just a perspective that is influenced by the three of us at this time and place, for the next hour on this day. And yeah, there may be 6 bullets that someone takes, or maybe one, and they have to be discerning enough to understand if that applies to them. So ask me the question again, and let's see what comes in.
What does it mean to be a great leader to you?
I think the first thing is that you need to know who you are. I need to know who I am. So many leaders have been programmed to lead from an old paradigm, which I would call command and control. So maybe an old paradigm of leadership is to command and control. And when we are in a role of commanding and controlling, we're limiting the authenticity that can exist through those people that we are leading, because we're controlling them. We've got our hands around them and we're teaching them, talking to them, making them be more android type robots than authentic expressions of themselves. So the first thing is meet people where they are. and really allow their authentic expression to move through them. Now the challenge is like, well, how do you know who if it's their authentic expression? Well, this is the investment we need to make in people. So the next thing is make an investment in your people.
Mm.
Have to invest in your people. Um, the currency is shifting, from, let's say, monetary to social currency. So to be a great leader, I think you have to meet people where they are. You have to invest in people. You have to know your insecurities and your hitches, right? Because if I know myself, then and I bring those insecurities or those anxieties into my leadership team as a shadow piece and not as an illumined piece, then I'm just dumping that shit onto my executive team. And we're in a cesspool. And then we're working from identity and concept of self versus authentic self. So what else does it mean? You gotta do your work. Like I have to do my inner work. If I don't know
Mhm.
who I am, because if you think about it, we have um, a cycle in our initial parts of our life, right? Um, let's say we call it our family of origin, right? In our formidable years. And regardless of how we're raised, there are imprints that get put into our consciousness. We come online about 6 or 7 years old. And then from that point, our consciousness, think of the purest driven snow you've ever seen. And then think of one step in that, and then another. That's what happens in consciousness. So those imprints start to imprint how we experience the world. Some of them are like incredible and they just move through us, and some of them can be a little sticky. So the sticky parts, if we're not aware of that as the shadow side of ourselves, and we don't do that inner inquiry, then we are leading from a place that's unhealed, uh, not authentic, and probably disempowering for other people.
Yeah.
So how many things did I say?
There's four things there.
Okay, let's start with that.
Okay. Well, great. Well, so here's my follow-up question to that. Why? Like why is that important, right? So, you talked about knowing who you are and doing your inner work, bringing awareness to kind of who you are and how you operate and getting better, meeting people where they're at, making an investment in people. Like, why does that matter? I mean, there's for thousands of years, it's been that command and control.
Hmm.
In your opinion, why do you believe that this is a better way um, to lead people?
Well, the simple answer is results. Is
Okay.
the other way effective? Is it working? I mean, look at the healthcare system. Look at education. Look at government. Those are old school paradigms. Look at banking. Old school paradigms of leadership that's more command and control. And how effective is it? How is it working? So I think there's an evolution of consciousness. There's a broader emergence that's occurring, and I don't care what generation. Certainly, my generation is more in the command control, but generations coming up, they're not going to exist in the command and control. There's too much autonomy. There's too much creativity, and they'll feel oppressed and repressed, and they'll bug out, and you won't get results or effectiveness out of them or productivity.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that evolution. I was just talking with a guy yesterday for quite a while. He's in his no, he's 30, and in a corporate setting,
Hmm.
just got to the point where he was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of them telling me what I can and can't do, and they keep changing the rules on me, and I don't have any control over it. He's like, I'm a smart, hardworking guy. I'm not going to do this anymore. So he's already got a plan in place to leave. They're going to
Hmm.
leave. They're going to lose a tremendous resource in their company, and they don't even know it yet because they're just trying to put their thumb on someone, and they're like, well, this is just the way we do things, and they're not thinking about it consciously and intentionally about how to get the most out of this person who's a very productive individual.
Yeah.
Instead, they're going to be starting over from ground zero with somebody else.
Yeah, it's a perfect example. Hopefully you're recruiting him.
Actually, I am. Funny you should ask.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great example. That's so yeah, they're losing good resource.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My follow-up question for you is I'm a big proponent of being able to lead yourself. And you mentioned something of you must work on your inner self. And I think sometimes our egos will take over for us. And we'll say to ourselves, like, I don't need help there, or I'm good on that, or I don't need to work on myself. So, what are some things that you've done to work on your inner self and identify holes that somebody else might be able to utilize that same strategy?
In 30 seconds or less, Doug.
Oh boy, the methodologies, Scott, that I've gone into to expose the ego and the identities go from Vision Quest to 2 weeks in the Amazon to Peruvian Andes ceremonies to just meditation and inner work. So that's 30 seconds. But yeah, I won't say I've done it all, but I've done a lot. Because you can't hide, you can hide from yourself, but you can't, um, if you're committed to it, that self that's hiding will be exposed eventually. And you don't need to kill the ego. The ego is a fantastic support system, but a healthy ego is the way it should be.
And my biggest takeaway that I took from that is get the hell out of Dodge, disconnect completely from
Mhm.
all society, all electronics, and go. Just get out and just be by yourself or maybe a loved one. Is that safe to say a loved one with you as well, or
Oh, you could. I mean, I think stillness and not isolation, but solitude. There is a difference. Stillness and solitude in nature would be a really great start. You go to 4 days on a vision quest with no food, and you get to know yourself. I promise you.
see how strong you really are? Mental
Yeah,
mental strength as well, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So where does that drive come from for you to it's uncomfortable, right? Just the vision quest, right? As a perfect example, it's uncomfortable. And so there's a lot of people out there that they kind of um, I just heard David Goggins speak the other day, and he was talking about putting the skeleton key into a door and opening up this door, and there's all these demons in there. And there's a little voice that says, you don't have to go in there. And most people go, oh, cool. And they close the door and they just ignore it. And he's like,
Right.
but if you have the courage to go in there and face those demons when you come out on the other side, that's where you discover something great about yourself. Like, what is your driving force that forces you to walk into that room rather than just taking the route of comfort?
Well, I mean, I look back and I've been on this path at some level of intentionality or consciousness for 25 years. So when I first began, I was that. I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. And then as more of my truth gets revealed, it gets easier and easier and easier because you practice it. And it's confronting at the beginning, but then you get an experience and a knowing and a relief, and that is more liberation and freedom and personal fulfillment and effectiveness, and it starts to gain momentum. But at the beginning, momentum, if you're starting with no momentum, you've got to put a little more force at the beginning to get the cart moving. And then once it's moving, you know, once you've taken the pill, you can't turn back. It's not an option.
Yeah.
So I think another thing that people might struggle with too is losing people that they think care about them and they think that they care about. And I mean, a 25-year journey, that's a long journey. Has there been anybody with you throughout this entire journey? And when did you realize who you want to surround yourself with versus who you don't want to surround yourself with?
Yeah, so my wife and my brother and my family, but my brother and my wife are the ones that have been there the whole time. Um, and I have a sister and another brother, but they're on their own journey. And so people have watched and witnessed. And, it's a great question, Scott, because I had to decide if my path, my journey, was more important to me than my previous life. And so it gets a little more thin as you expand. I mean, I think of it as a spiral, like an ascension spiral. And as you get, a little a higher altitude, it's thinner air. And just like Dan said, like some people close that door and say no, they'll go back to Monday Night Football and 6 beers. Nothing wrong with that, but that's not what I do on Monday night anymore, right? So yeah, there'll be people that will fall away. Hold them in your love, hold them in, and maybe some of your efforts will inspire them at some point to move, but you can't delay your journey because of other people who are gravity towards you. Does that make sense?
It does. And Dan and I have talked about this a lot too, with between us and then other people is like sometimes it feels like when you're at the top and you're leading, you kind of feel like you're by yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so what do you do? And is there, I know you mentioned like a support group, but what do you do and how do you like feel like you're not by yourself and you have other people guiding you and helping you and all of that?
Yeah, it's two answers. I had a really powerful realization in 2004 when I went through a pretty significant kind of awakening. Um, and I remember, a pretty clear message from my source that said, "You're never alone." So
Mm.
my relationship with source, spirit, universal intelligence, God, whatever you want to call it, is very powerful. And so I have a practice with that. It's different than anyone else. I tend to work through the indigenous methods instead of the foundational methods maybe that Western, religion or Christianity would do. So have that relationship with source. And then the second one for me is to align myself with, be at some place, be the small fish in the big pond, not the big fish in the small pond. And so there's a lot of people that have been on this path for a long time that I have conversations with maybe every 6 weeks. I mean, I surround myself with people that can understand how freaking weird and crazy I really am, and they're just as weird and crazy as me. And so we get to connect, and that's very reassuring. Um, and that group is deliberately chosen. One of them is my brother. Um, One of them is a very dear friend of mine who is a shaman and spends a lot of time in the Amazon. Another one is another shaman who I've never met personally, but she and I have this amazing relationship. And every 6 weeks we get on a call and she supports me. So, yeah, build your team, build your board of directors for sure.
Yeah. So I have just to kind of switch gears just a little bit. When you think about, great leaders that, whoever that is, and maybe you even have somebody that comes to your mind that you'd like to share a little bit about, what you think makes that person a great leader, living or dead. But what do you appreciate most about great leadership? Because you obviously have, I don't know, I guess we could call it a reverence. Maybe that's not the right word for leadership, like Scott and I do. That's why we do this podcast is like we believe that we need more leaders in this world, right? We need to share ideas about great leadership. What does that look like so that we have more people leading themselves, leading other people? So what do you appreciate about a really solid leader?
Hmm. Someone who is light, joyful,
Mm,
committed, grounded, um, has a connection with their emotional intelligence,
mm,
um, driven, produces results in that space, fun, inspiring, and knows themselves and is vulnerable enough to allow others to see themselves in that space. That just
yeah.
came came through. Never had the question before, but how did that
Yeah.
land?
No, that's great. I mean, what I hear is I feel like when somebody is light, joyful, grounded, emotionally intelligent, working on themselves, like I think the only way to get into that space is to be in alignment, with
Mhm.
like who you're supposed to be and what you're doing, right? Like I
Mhm.
feel like when I feel uncomfortable in my own life, it means that I'm doing stuff that is out of alignment, right? There's a
Yeah.
difference between discomfort and out of alignment, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I hear. Great leaders have alignment. They know who they are, they know what they're doing, they know why they're doing it, they know who they serve. And when we get in alignment with that, it just makes everything so much easier. The answers just come. Like, I need a solution. Boom. It's just natural. It kind of free flows in. And that's where that power is, right? It's magnetic.
You nailed it. That's it. It's alignment.
Yeah.
And the only thing I would add, guys, is in my practice, there's three centers. There's the gut, there's the heart, and then there's the vision. So when those three centers are aligned, that's the power.
Mm. So how do you do that? I mean, like, my experience of you is that you've got some pretty clear alignment. You're. I'm never confused about what you stand for, or anything like that. Um, how do you do that? Because I would myself, in particular, this is something I'm still working on. I'm 45, and maybe it's a never-ending journey, but there's times where I'm just like, man, I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm doing things, but I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So how do you find that alignment between your gut, heart, and your vision?
Well, there's lots.
Hey guys, Dan Gomer here with the Leaders Gotta Lead podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you are enjoying the content, and if you are, I've got great news because there's more where that came from. Just click on the link in the show notes to discover new ways to plug into what we're doing, to find new content that we're putting out, and to discover how we might be able to work together to elevate your leadership game. Just click on the link in the show notes and let's take our leadership success to the next level.
Of different ways, and I've done it lots of different ways, and it evolves and moves. So there is no one way. The common theme is, and this will relate to those who are in real estate, and it's a simple term, is what you appreciate appreciates. So think of that as a piece of real estate. If it's in, disrepair and you're not putting any resources toward it, then you're not appreciating your real estate, and it won't appreciate at the level that it would appreciate if you brought it up to current standards. I am the same. You are the same. So do you have a practice, and that practice can change consistently, where you are putting attention on this asset, and are you appreciating those three centers? And there's lots of practices. There's breath work, there's meditation, there's walks in nature, there's journaling. Oh my gosh, it just goes on and on. And cold plunges. I mean, you can do so much, and all of them are great. And you could spend 8 of your 10 waking hours doing it all the time. But there's this other thing called, we want to be productive. So you've got to zero it in to a place that you practice, mine's 30 to 45 minutes a day, first thing when I get up. And I also include, some level of workout. So, within realm, we talk about, the physical realm. It's body, the spiritual realm, which is whatever that is. There's the relational realm, which is your family, your primary relationship. And then there is the professional realm. And so that's also part of our alignment. If we're only focusing on the physical realm, and we got big shoulders and six pack, strong abs, but we're not working at all, and we don't put any time into our spiritual path or our relational path, it's kind of one dimensional. That's misaligned.
Yeah.
And
I want to go.
systems are great. So create a system for yourself, right?
Yeah.
You struck a chord with me on a couple things, so I'm gonna kind of shift gears again.
Love
Uh,
it.
so you were in the mortgage industry for 20 plus years, it sounds like.
Yep.
You were in it during the financial crisis, right? 2007, 2008, 2009.
And
Uh,
the one before that.
and the one before that, no one, right? That was the one before that.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I feel like right now, and I'm not just talking about real estate agents, mortgage lenders, anything like that, because I feel like a lot of people are struggling in a lot of different ways, right? Inflation's up, pay's not keeping up with inflation. Like people are struggling financially. And I want to go back to 2009 when everything was going on. Like, how did you truly take a step back and start by just focusing and leading on yourself first? Because that was an interesting time back then. I mean, that was when I graduated college, so that was a fun time to graduate college because there's no jobs out there. But like,
Mm,
what did you do to take a step back and say, okay, in order for me to move forward, I have to look inward.
hmm
How did you do that? And what was like some of the steps? I know we're going back in time here, but what were some of the steps that you implemented to really make sure that you're focusing on yourself first, your family second, your spiritual, how in any order, right? But
hmm
to really say, you know what, I'm not going to let the market be subject to who I am as a person.
hmm Really wonderful question. And it's not hard to go back because it was a pretty significant life event. I had decided in 2007, after starting my mortgage company in 1996, that I had brought in two partners, and I couldn't, as much work as I had done, I could not figure out how to align with them on compensation. And so won't get into that, but I decided I was going to exit the company that I started in 2007. I gave them a year notice, so it all worked out. So September of 2008, I left my mortgage company. That started with just a vibe in 2007. So all I got really out of that was off of some of the liabilities. But then I started again in 2000 in September of 2008 with another mortgage company as a production person. And that was it was like when chaos is going on, Scott, that is the most amazing time for opportunity.
Mm,
People cannot navigate through chaos. They don't have the tools or the skills. They're at the effect of life. They're like at the end of the dragon's tail. And I had done at that point 8, 9 years of this type of inner inquiry, and I was like, "Fuck yeah! This is the first time since 2004 that I was revered as a professional because I had skills and integrity that during the subprime bullshit, people were making money hands over fist. And they didn't care what kind of quality you had as a professional, what kind of skill you had in finance. And I was like, this sucks. But when that blew up, I was like, game on. Now my worth is being exposed to the world. And I killed it. I seriously did. Even though I changed companies and I was with a new company, my goal was to get out of the business in a couple of years and start my coaching business. And I re-upped for another 8 years because I built a whole nother team. And I was like, this is great. I'm getting, compensated and we're building a team and it's fun. Oh, and I've had this other thing that I want to build and I'm doing it, but this is really fun and I'm making way more money doing this. So that was the delay for me, but it was okay. It was okay. Yeah, so that's how I saw it. That's how I experienced this. Chaos creates incredible opportunity for people who can navigate it.
mm,
And that doesn't come in the moment, it comes in the moments, the years before. So that's why this work, there's always a perfect time to start it because there's always going to be chaos.
yeah. Yeah. Start now so you can deal with the chaos tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah. And Sky, you're
Well,
right on. I mean, there's, many of my teachers, some of the lineages that I work with, there's a prophecy that we are in. It's called the Panchakuti. through the Andean Q'ero lineage, indigenous culture, that this is a time of turning over. And we're seeing it in finance, we're seeing it in healthcare, we're seeing it in education, we're seeing it in political times. So you're tuned in. It's not bad. It's just a time it's turning over.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of goes back to that saying that, strong people create good times create weak people create bad times. So therefore, bad times have to create strong people again, right? And it just keeps going in a cycle.
Yeah,
Um, and I do feel like, right, like we've been on a run in every aspect,
sure.
from finances to stock market to real estate. Like we've seen this incredible run for well over the normal of 7 to 10 years, right? It's been what, a 15-year run. So, or a 14, 13-year run, whatever it may be. So, we're starting to see some of that. And we have been seeing that really since 22, right, Dan? Like you've seen
Yeah.
it, I'm sure. So it's just interesting because, you go back to 2009, and that was the biggest financial crash on real estate probably ever. I mean, that was the most years that you saw depreciation on housing.
Mhm.
And, you talk about appreciation, right? And some of the things that I'm seeing now is, or back then, there was more millionaires created from that time than ever before. And you just hit the nail on the head. Chaos creates opportunity. And I don't think people are seeing opportunity. And that's where I'm curious to know is like when you're feeling chaotic, how do you start seeing that, hey, there is opportunity here? So how do you identify opportunity when you're feeling the chaos?
Uh, wow, what a great question. Chaos fuels opportunity. You have to experience the chaos in your body and allow it to fuel creativity and opportunity. If you resist the chaos, it's going to block. It's going to stagnate. It's going to get stuck. So allow yourself to experience the chaos, allow it to move through you energetically. That will fuel your creativity. And everyone has a unique way of bringing their skill, genius into the world. Follow it and trust in it. Like, I in 2009, I had no idea I'd be doing what I'm doing now, which is, that's 16 years later. And if I did know, I would have said, done. Like my life is amazing. And here I am with an amazing life. Like, yeah. And there's there now. Like there's other parts of me that are not yet touched and expressed. So it never does stop, Dan. You know this. I mean,
Yeah.
if you get on this ride, you're on it. You don't get off of it. It may slow down, but you're on it.
So when you look at other, when you look at leaders, I mean, this kind of flows into this question. Basically, chaos creates opportunity. You got growth, all that kind of stuff. And great leaders are constantly trying to get better and looking for that future self and all that kind of stuff. And I think intellectually, most people get that. And yet there's a lot of leaders out there who forget to work on themselves, right? Like, what do you think hinders a lot of leaders from really taking on this responsibility of growth, really finding those opportunities to get better? What do you think hinders them from creating that?
Well, I think I can just speak from my experience and, ego, the almighty dollar, the con, I call it the white collar hoax. Dan, you know this from Realm. Like, the gold plated highway is not what we've been told it is, but it's what we've been taught. So buying into some of those indoctrinated beliefs about fulfillment and happiness and joy and peace and freedom, um, and you just get plugged back into the matrix, basically, is what you're doing. So yeah. So how do you keep you have to create a practice of stillness and have people that will reflect back to you like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, that's such a huge piece of it, right? I mean, I heard you talk about ego, and a lot of times ego can stop us from listening and
Hmm.
taking feedback in.
Hmm.
And I'm learning more and more and more as I get older and more experienced, is that the people who are in my ear are, it's huge. It's huge because they're influencing my entire life, and so when we get into that ego state as a leader, hey, I'm killing it, I'm crushing it, this is great, I'm going to keep going, and we forget to listen, that can really stifle our growth as leaders.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, Something I think is just I'm tuning into that might add value. And Scott, I want to check back with you to make sure I'd answered your question. But there's a body of wisdom that's available beyond ourself. So when we can have a healthy ego and we can be tuned into that body of wisdom, then we can be a channel for a wisdom that is beyond ourselves. And I don't, that doesn't matter if we're parenting as if we're leading as parenting or we're leading a team. So accessing that, goes beyond all the books, goes beyond all the 3 steps to be a powerful leader, right? Kind of thing. Um, and it goes into your truth and your wisdom. And so the other thing I would add is like that body of wisdom is so much greater and so much more expansive than the limitations of our own mind or and the limitations of our own mind and anything that we can cram in that from books we read or podcasts we watch or whatever. Like there's another resource there beyond self.
Scott, did you get your question answered?
You did, but I got a follow-up question to it, of course.
Yeah, love that.
So, I know that I'm speaking from personal experience.
Hmm.
Um, there's a metaphor out there that in order to eat an elephant, you have to eat it one bite at a time, right?
Hmm.
I think we've all heard that metaphor before. And when chaos is ensuing, I think that a lot of people feel chaos different from
Mm.
the anxiety piece or the brain fog piece or, whatever it may be. It seems to me like you have a calming ability to figure out like, okay, this is chaos.
Hmm.
Now I know there's opportunity.
Hmm.
But I know you mentioned this earlier, is that when you really start saying, hey, I need to go be with myself to get the chaos under control? Or like, what do you do to get chaos under control to where you can see the vision of opportunity?
Yeah, well, it's multi-level. First of all, if you think about the brain, and chaos comes from your reptilian brain and your ability of your nervous system to handle what's occurring. So if something's coming at me and my reptilian brain, the amygdala, which is if you look at like this is the brain stem, the amygdala is like right up in here. So your nervous system has something to do with how we navigate chaos. Some people have the ability to navigate it and their nervous system doesn't go whack, right? And some people are like whack with the first sign of it. So it's multi-layered. Like diet has an impact on which part of our brain we're using. Sugars and carbohydrates will fuel the amygdala and the reptilian brain, period. How much sugar are you consuming in your life? How much sugar is the world consuming? So everyone's operating from the reptilian brain. That's one level, exercise, right? But ultimately, if you put together um, a system where you're giving yourself a chance for your nervous system to be regulated, um, you are not chaos. You you are the thing observing the chaos. The chaos is energy moving through you. But if I collapse into I am chaotic, then I have no separation from the chaos. So I become the chaos. I have no separation. When I know that I am the one observing the chaos, I have separation. And that's the truth, by the way. You are not chaos. It's chaos is an energy moving through you, and your nervous system is going like this. So ultimately, you regulate your nervous system in a way through diet, through exercise, through sleep, um, feeding the brain healthy foods, so that you can just witness the chaos moving through you, Scott. And that's where the fuel comes in. That help?
It does. It's interesting you say that because I mean, NFL draft's going on right now, and they're talking about like sports, and I'm listening to a lot of different sports talk radio stuff, and they called it the 72-hour rule. And I've never thought about this until like they said it. And they were talking about like professional athletes, they don't realize they even do this, but what you put in your body 72 hours before that event matters. And what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying is the same thing, right? With sugar and exercise and like what you put in your body matters, right? So I started thinking about it and I was like, wait, there's science out there that says the US population, their most productive day is Tuesday. And I'm like, wait, what's 72 hours before Tuesday? Well, it's Friday. And what do most people do on Friday? They
Happy
probably
hour.
go and indulge in whatever it may be, from drugs, alcohol to bad food. And I'm like, no wonder it takes until Tuesday for us to have a productive day. And it's
Mm,
like, okay, if you want to really lead yourself, understand what you're doing to your body on a day-to-day basis
yeah.
because it does matter. And I thought it was just interesting that that's where my mind goes when I'm listening to sports talk radio about the
Yeah.
72-hour rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a holistic approach is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all of the things that you talked about with the realm. It's the mind, the body, your emotions, it's your relationships. I mean, all of these things, impact how we view the world, how we interact with the world. And if we want to get chaos under control and we want to figure out a way to work within chaos, it's not like, well, meditate more. Like that might be part of it, but it's a holistic thing. It's all of these things coming together over a period of time, these micro wins over a period of time that ultimately lead to a healthier body, a healthier mind, a healthier relationship with life, which then opens up the doors and the opportunities to be able to navigate these stressful situations more effectively.
Yeah. You have a really amazing way of summarizing what I say, Dan. Maybe we should go into partnership.
Write a book together.
Yeah. Well,
The,
speaking of, oh, go ahead.
just one quick thing, one of my teachers talks about he was hired by a pharmaceutical company years and years and years ago to go to the Amazon to figure out all the tricks and trades of why the Amazon people were so healthy and they didn't have dementia, they didn't have heart disease, they didn't have cancer, and he was looking like for the plant that was going to be able to turn into pharmaceuticals to make millions of dollars. And what he got when he went down there was like um, he felt like science was looking through the wrong end of the microscope. And so this goes back to you turn it around and you see that it's about everything. This is your whole holistic part. It's not one thing. It's not meditation, it's not the body, it's everything. And until you see that this organism called the human is going through the world with all these, we're handling it as separate parts, we'll never be as effective and integrated as we could be if we see it as one living organism, including food, including everything, water, everything. So
Mhm.
that just affirms what you just said.
Yeah, yeah, that's and the blue zone's a similar thing, right? Um, yeah, I mean, gosh, we could go down this stuff forever. I think what I loved about this conversation the most is that we got down to the nitty-gritty of what it means to be a good leader as a beingness. You know what I mean? Like leadership starts with ourselves first. And Scott, I know this is a big thing that you like to hit on this podcast is leadership starts with leading ourselves first. But just to wrap up, I always like to just kind of go through some of the things that we covered and just recap. Um, what does it mean to be a good leader? Well, authentic power, know who you are, meet people where they're at, make an investment in yourself, make an investment in other people, do your inner work. We talked about uh, meditation. We talked about going on vision quests and retreats and meditation retreats and how those are great tools to be able to get in tune with who we are. We talked about getting uncomfortable. When we get uncomfortable, it provides relief. I heard you use the word relief, freedom. Um, and one of the things that really resonated too with me was you said you had this meditation where, Scott was asking, well, what do you do when you feel alone at the top? And you had this insight that you're never alone. And there's always source or God or whatever it is that's always with you. And you talked about the alignment between the gut, the heart, your vision, aligning those things to be, the best leader that you can. What you appreciate appreciates, finding what it is that you really want to create in your life and appreciating that and focusing on that. And then I think maybe one of the biggest nuggets that we just spent quite a bit of time talking about is chaos equals opportunity,
Mhm.
and how do you find the ability to navigate chaos? you know, and ultimately it's our ability to navigate chaos that really creates success, however you define that, because chaos is all around us. It's how we choose to navigate that. And if we want to navigate that properly, then we have to look at our life from a holistic approach to be able to navigate those stressful situations. And Scott, the 72-hour rule, I'm really glad you brought that up. I've never heard of that before, but it totally makes sense. There's this hangover, the 72-hour hangover from eating like crap or drinking or doing whatever it is. You got 72 hours where you got to work that through your system before you can get back to homeostasis. I think that that's a powerful concept. Um, Anything that I missed there? It's hard to summarize a 45
No,
minute
it's good to
conversation.
me.
I don't know if you got the gut, heart, and vision. I didn't hear that piece, but
Yeah, he got he got it.
okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right. That was another one that I was like, okay, that's a good one because I know that it stays in line. So,
yeah.
so
Well, Doug, I really appreciate you being on here. I love these conversations because we never know where they're going to go. And it kind of goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. The whole purpose of the show is not to say like, this is how you lead. This is the correct answer. It's identifying different ways of looking at it. And, I knew that this conversation was going to be great. I knew that we were going to be able to go really deep with it. And I knew that we could have gone a lot longer if we really wanted to. So thank you so much for being on here. Doug, is there anything that you want to promote, or how can people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about Realm and what that's all about, or they want to learn more about you? What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you, thank you. They're just the old URLs. It's realm.men, and that's a men's leadership community. Then I have a personal website, it's dougmcgee.com, and there's ways to contact me through that. And it's just an honor to be here in conversation with leaders and leaders who are in the mix and leading teams and leading people and leading their families, and you have children, and the trifecta of leadership is men and women, but men who are self-employed, who are married and have children. That's being in the fire in the kitchen. So you guys are both in that space. So I honor and respect you for it.
yeah.
Thank you.
And
It does feel like that sometimes.
for the website is DougMcghee.com.
Yeah, that's it. That's perfect, Scott. Yeah.
All right, Scott, final question, buddy.
All right. If you could go to your younger self and give yourself one piece of advice about leadership, what would it be?
Mhm. Believe in yourself.
That was quick. Might be the fastest one we got all this entire time.
Yeah. Well, so just to follow up on that, I assume then there was a point in time where you didn't believe in yourself. And what did you do to change that narrative?
Trust, fail, run around in fear and stagnation. And it's it's the word I like to say is it's you're going to be you're going to evolve regardless of how much you are resisting. It's inevitable. So you might as well just believe in yourself and go for it now.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Doug, thank you so much for being on. We really appreciate you taking the time to go through all of this. We had some great nuggets here today, and hopefully we'll have you on again another day. But thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it.